are the champion, the one that holds the line and finishes the mission. Everything that you want is within your grasp. You wake up in the morning ready to dominate the day, and every step taken is with purpose and integrity, because you were not put on this planet to live a mediocre existence. You are here to conquer and make the biggest impact possible, not only for yourself, but for your family and for your tribe. This world is a battlefield, and we will be victorious. This is the Norse Mentality.
What's up, guys? I hope that you are having a glorious day. Me and my man Cody, aka Cody, that's what we're calling him now. You'll embrace it eventually and realize how cool it is. But we're going to talk about authenticity today. We're going to talk about why it's so important. We're going to give you tactics to apply it to your life. And also talk about why when you do finally just be real and true to yourself, life gets so much easier. And I think that this is such an important topic because it's lacking in today's society. And the reason for that is because it's so easy to create a false identity on social media, right? Like we see it all the time. People put on a fake front in order to get likes, in order to get comments, in order to get recognition, which I understand that. And it's a natural human instinct, right? Because throughout the course of human history, we needed to be accepted by our tribe. We needed to fit in for our tribe in order to survive. And that's all life is about, is survival. At the core basis, that's all life is about, is surviving existence here. So you needed to fit in with these people in your tribe. If they liked you, the more successful you were, the more resources you were able to obtain for you and your family. So you start doing things in order to get these people to like you. So like I said, I understand why people do this. I do it at times as well, I'm sure, to a certain extent. But nowadays it's overboard because like I said, you can create a whole different persona for yourself on social media. But people also spend a lot of time on social media. So you're living this lie. That's what it is. It is a lie the majority of your time. But you're also running into, well, this is how I am in the real world. And this is how I am on the internet. And you're most likely only this type of person on the internet because you admire someone else that's doing the same thing. So you start modeling their characteristics, right? Well, they're doing it. This person's getting a lot of likes and comments and they're moving up in the social hierarchy, which is a natural human instinct to want to do because you'll be more successful, more resources, all that shit that I just mentioned. But then you're modeling these people's characteristics. You start trying to embody this person, and that's not you. It is a lie. So then when you meet someone in person that maybe follows you online, maybe they think you're pretty cool online. Maybe they have a lot of respect for you, but then they meet you in the real world. You're not that person. They immediately lose respect for you. You are now a sketchy son of a bitch because they're like, wait, something's not matching up here.
There's a disconnect. Like
right,
something's off.
Something in their subconscious is going like, whoa, this person is like, this is not a cool person anymore, right? Like, I'm not going to trust this person. If that person doesn't trust you, then they are done with you. They don't want to have a relationship with you. Friendship, whatever it is, right? Like, get away from me. That's all they're thinking.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you are a sketchy son of a bitch. So that's going to cause problems in your life. When you start doing that, it's going to affect your relationships. It's going to affect your job. It's going to affect your inner circle, your family, all of these different things. And what I've seen over the years, if people end up having like an existential crisis because they no longer know who they are, because they're living this lie on the internet and then they're this person, but then they spend so much time and effort trying to create this fake persona that they wake up one day, or actually I think it's over a course of time that it just builds up and builds up and builds up. And then one day they realize that they are living a fucking lie and are not being true to themselves. And I think that is probably one of the worst experiences and emotions that a human being can come to. And I've come to something similar before, not in such an extreme way of me trying to model someone else and being like, oh, I haven't been true to myself, right? But it's definitely, I've asked myself that question, who am I? Who is this person? Not Andy, not this whatever, like not what the rest of the world sees, but who am I? What are my morals? What are my values? What do I believe in? What am I not going to fucking put up with? What are my boundaries? Oh shit. We're not going to get going down there, but that's another podcast episode. But you know what I mean? Like you need to know all of these things because that is who you are at the deepest level. And when you embrace that and you stop giving a fuck if someone doesn't agree with you or not, or if they don't like you, you're free. Yeah. That's what all of this boils down to. You are a free individual at that point. You are no longer worried about expectations from other people. If someone else doesn't like you, that's okay. Because luckily, this is one of the situations. Luckily, we live in this modern world where if like some jerk off down the road that you meet at the grocery store or whoever doesn't like you, who gives a shit? This doesn't impact me. I can still get my groceries and go home, you know? But that's why this is so important. And we've had this discussion in the past. You've had to ask yourself that same question.
Yeah.
Who am I?
Everyone needs to. I mean, that is one of those big questions, you know. Who am I? You know, why are we here? What happens after we die? Like it's kind of in the same category, you know. I think the lack of authenticity today is a big cause of, you know, overall misery for people.
Yeah, depression.
Yeah,
for sure.
I think it's definitely related because, you know, if you're putting on these fronts and say it's not just one. Say you have a different front for each different friend group, your family, your job.
I know people like that, man.
Absolutely.
I'm glad you brought that up.
So imagine you, and then you're putting on all these, you know, multiple different fronts. It gets exhausting.
It gets exhausting for sure.
And subconsciously exhausting because you're having to worry about like where you are with a certain group of people or with your job or with your coworkers or manager, and you're trying to play something you're not. When if you are just your true self and are connected to your true self, then you don't ever have to worry about that.
No. Let's tear that apart real quick from a subconscious level. Okay, so our subconscious controls what, like 80 or 90% of our behaviors throughout the day?
I think it's 95.
Yeah, it's like 95%.
Huberman maybe had mentioned that.
Yeah.
95%. Your subconscious is 95% of
so
your
95%
daily...
of the actions that you take throughout the day without even realizing it is because of your subconscious. Now, if you're filling your subconscious, because that's the thing is we fill our subconscious with information, right? From the time we were born until we die, we're constantly filling our subconscious with information. And then that helps us guide ourselves through this world, right? Like our subconscious, okay, well, this is who we are. This is what, it's almost like it's a tool. That's what it is. Your subconscious is a tool.
Yeah, well, it's learning so you can function without consciously thinking.
Right, because
the simplest shit.
We have so much stimuli coming at us all the time that if we had to consciously be aware of every single thing throughout the day, we wouldn't be able to.
We wouldn't be able to function.
Not be possible. So the subconscious is a extremely powerful tool that people do not take full advantage of. Like they don't use it to the full extreme, which we can do a whole episode on that as well. And we should in the near future because you can really use it to level up your life. But in this situation, whenever you're filling your subconscious with all these different identities, because that's what they are, your subconscious doesn't know where the fuck to go. It's trying to figure it out because like I said, it's 95% of your day. You might think it's easy. Oh, I'll say this and this person will like me. Well, you're doing that all day, every day. Your subconscious is having to do that. And that's why eventually you slip up because you don't know who the hell you are. And you're going to say the wrong thing to the wrong group of people. And that whole relationship's going to fall apart because you're a sketchy son of a bitch and they no longer trust you. Compared to if you meet someone like me and you, right? Neither of us put on a front. We just started talking. And because we were being authentic, we're like, well, me and this dude have a lot in common. And we started hanging out more. And now you're on this damn podcast. And now you work for Norse, right? So fist bump there for those who are listening and not watching.
Yeah, if you heard a nice thud in the microphone, that's what it was.
It. We do at least one every episode. I love it. But that is what builds that connection, right? And it's effortless. And that's the main word that I want to use here. It is effortless to be yourself. You're no longer putting on a front. You're no longer wasting energy. And that's the thing. Energy is a reservoir. We only have so much energy throughout the day. When we take that energy and we put it towards bullshit like that, like trying to get people to love us and like us and playing this role that isn't really us and creating this whole character that isn't true to who we are, that is wasted energy. that you could be putting into your workouts, that you could be putting into reading, that you could be putting towards a new business endeavor, time with your family, all of these different things. You can no longer do that because you don't have the energy. Without energy, we cannot accomplish anything. That is the purpose of energy, right? Like to allow you to be awake to do this kind of shit and to give you motivation and stuff like that. But if you're wasting that energy on putting on a fake front, then you're no longer able to attack all these other important aspects of life to its full extent, meaning you're never going to get anywhere close to your full potential, but also you don't know what the fuck your true potential is because you're not being true to yourself in the first place. So that, guys, is why it's so damn important. And it just makes your life so much easier. It's effortless to be you. But like human beings like to do, we overcomplicate it. We're always overcomplicating shit. We see this with diets and workouts all the time. That's like, that's our world. Outside the podcast, there's Norse Fitness, which is like the main aspect of the brand. We have a gym called the Norse Compound. We constantly see people coming in and out, and it's always the same shit. This is what I've noticed. And I've done it too, not even just with fitness, but with business and shit like that. Oh, this is working really well. We should stop doing this and try something different. That's what human beings do. We overcomplicate shit, right? What were you going to say?
You mentioned freedom.
Mm-hmm.
When I took the time, not that I ever really put on a front, but I think we all have to some extent. Not to the point where like I'm a completely different person, but like enough to where it's almost a defense mechanism. You mentioned freedom. I've never felt more free in my life.
That's what it is, man.
Happiness. I've never been happier.
When did you ask yourself this question? Who am I?
I don't know. Like I can't give you like a definitive, I sat down and I asked who I am.
I think it's definitely a gradually over time type thing.
I think it is too. When I started meditating a lot more, and started talking to my inner self and getting direction on, where we wanted to go in this life, I think that came up because that truly is the root of direction. Like your authentic self wants to do things a certain type of way to feed itself because that's who you are. Not feed your front you're putting on. It's wanting to feed its true potential and true direction in life.
Yeah. Whenever I started doing it, that's when I started separating myself from Andy. I talk in third person a lot.
Same.
I've caught myself doing that lately. I'll say this is what Andy does. This is what, and exactly what I just said, this is what Andy does. And at first it was kind of weird to me, but now I understand what it is. In all reality, this is a character. It's true to who I am, but Andy, the person on this podcast right now, the person that I live every day, is a character. It's funny. I was talking to my dad about this. I was just like, I was going through one of my stints of just like grinding, right? Just full exertion, tackling goals left and right. And my dad's like, how are you? I'm like, I'm good. I was like, but this whole character that I've created throughout the years is exhausting. I'm happy with it. I'm same thing. I'm the happiest I've ever been. But like who I am now is not who I was 10 years ago. And that's because I created a character of who I wanted to become, right? I saw characteristics from other people that I admired. And this is where you can obviously pick up from other people and take things from them and apply it to your life. And you can do that with everything. You model success, right? You don't model who that person is. You don't take on their personality, but you can take the little tools that they do. The same shit we talk about on this podcast all the time. Like, this is what I do that helps me succeed, and hopefully it can help you as well. That's completely okay. That's still being true to you. It's helping you be more productive. It's helping you be more efficient, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But over the years, I've studied this shit, leveling up. I'm obsessed with it. Well, that's who I am now. And I'm happier than I've ever been. But it's exhausting. I'm a very, very busy person. I don't ever stop. But that's what brings me fulfillment. And we've talked about this on a few episodes ago. Like, I had this whole kind of 3-month period where I did slow down purposely, which it was very beneficial because it allowed me to figure out where I wanted to go next. And that's the only time that we do figure that kind of stuff out, is whenever we slow down we take a step back and we detach and we say, okay, cool. Like we've been busting our ass and we accomplished all of this. That's an amazing feeling. Well, where do we want to go next? So you have to stop and slow down and do that. But I also live a lot of my time in that full exertion, just all day, every day, just getting after it, because that's what I enjoy. That's what brings me fulfillment. And I'm not going to feel bad about that. And that was a changing point for me. That's not for everybody. But like I said, that's that character that I have created. That is who Andy is. And I love it.
It's not false.
It's not false. No.
It's you.
But I think you wouldn't be able to.
Yeah.
That's one of those things that you can't see someone else doing and be like, I'm going to do that. No, like that's not possible. I can't just type something out on Instagram and be like, hey guys, I do this. I mean, I can. But in the real world, in your daily life, like you can't just do that. Like you have to, that has to be something that you truly want for yourself, because you know it's going to better you. And it's going to, but that's the thing with self-improvement, right? With self-improvement, when you start chipping away at all of this other shit, all of this mental programming from your youth and from society as a whole, and all this shit that is buried in your subconscious, when you start dissecting that and pulling out the stuff that does not serve you, that's where your true self comes out. That's why self-improvement is so important. And that's why leveling up all the time is so important, because every time you level up, that is you getting closer to your true self. Every time you stack a new victory, you feel so good because that's you. You're powerful, right?
I think the putting on a front to be liked by a group of people because you want to be accepted. I understand it, like you said at the beginning. I understand that. But I can tell you that once you figure out who you are, what you want to do, and you start becoming your true authentic self, the people you meet along the way, now they're not frequent.
Oh, they get way less.
There it is way less frequent. But the people you meet on that journey is fucking priceless.
It's more authentic and genuine, and it's so hard to come across. But that's the thing, it should be hard to come across. You're not going to relate to everybody, but the people that you meet when you're being real with this person, with yourself, but also with this other person, when you're being real, you're not putting on a front. You're just like, this is who I am. You can either accept this or you can leave it. And if the person accepts it, you have an amazing friendship there. Maybe it's a future relationship as well. Maybe it's a job that you're applying for. When you go into the interview, instead of putting on some fucking front to get the job, which sometimes you have to because you got to stack cash. But either way, when you go into this job, if you're authentic and you're just like, this is who I am. And if they love you, if that person interviewing you loves you for that, they're going to hire you. And guess what? Your work environment is going to be awesome. But also it goes back to the living the lie. If you go into this interview, and I know I've done this in the past, we all have, because we need the damn job, right?
Yeah, you have to sell yourself.
Right, you have to sell yourself. But here's the thing with that. As soon as that interview gets done and you get hired, and about a week or two in, you told them all the shit they want to hear. And we do this whenever, not necessarily me or you, but I know people that do this, especially guys that are fucking worst about it. But they're selling themselves. They're telling you what they know you want to hear in order to get you. Guys do it with women. Women do it with guys as well. They both do it, and it's the fucking worst. They will tell you whatever they might. It's like if you have a crush on someone, right? You automatically start thinking, well, what do I need to say? What do I need to do in order to get this person to like me? That's natural. But that's the thing, is having self-awareness, be like, no, we're not doing that because this is going to cause problems down the road. But anyways, going back to the interview thing. You're doing this interview, you're feeding this person all this bullshit, you're telling them what you think they want to hear. And then you start the job, and a couple weeks in, well, you already sold them on it. You got it. And in case of a guy and a girl, or a girl and a guy, you got some ass, you got some dick, whatever. We're done here. Well, I don't really give a shit anymore. I'm going to drop the front. They're going to go, who the fuck is this? This person that just hired you, that loved you because you sold them some bullshit, manipulation. That's what that is. When you manipulate this person, well, eventually they're going to realize that they were manipulated. They're no longer going to trust you. Well, guess what? You're no longer moving up in that company. You're not getting that promotion. You're shooting yourself in the fucking foot compared to just going into the interview, of course, being respectful, carrying yourself good, going there with your head up, your chest out, like go in there as a confident individual. But that, hopefully that's who you are. And if it's not, then that's something you need to work on. Been there as well, you know? But Your life is so much easier with that. And you're going to be in this work environment with someone, if you're being honest with this person during the interview, you're being the real you, and they love you for that person. Well, guess what? You're going to be working with people like you if they did the same thing. Because this person, it's just like here. And the reason I'm saying all this is because I do this. I hire people for Norse. I only hire people that I think is going to get along with everyone else here, like to create the work environment. There's a certain work environment here. Everywhere has it. Anywhere that you've ever worked, there's a certain environment there, and it's usually based off the people. It's always based off the people. It's who they are. And whoever is hiring these people is shaping that culture. They're shaping they have a vision of what they want their culture to look like, and they're bringing on people that are going to fit that culture. So if you're real with yourself, you're going to be working with a bunch of people that you get along with. And that goes back to your statement. I just fucked up this mic. Hopefully that didn't mess up the recording. Anyways, I got to stop swinging my damn arms around. But that goes back to your point. You meet genuine people, and that is priceless, right? But let's dig into the relationship aspect of it, because we see this a lot. I've experienced this in past relationships, not necessarily with myself, but people that I was talking to and dating to and stuff like that. Whenever people have an attraction towards someone else, like I said, they automatically start wanting to say things and do things that they know that other person wants to do. And it's easier than ever with social media now. You go do a little bit of creeping, and you're like, okay, this person's into this. This is how they talk. And subconsciously, you start doing that. You start modeling them, right? Because you want to be relatable. If you're relatable to someone, then they're going to love you, right? And you're going to be able to get what you want, which is this other person. So you start doing that, and you start trying to become this person in order to get them to like you. Well, a couple months go by. It's going okay. You're living the lie. Everything's good, you think. But then you move in together. And you can no longer play this front anymore because it's a 24/7 job. And you just can't do that. It's not possible.
A 24/7 job on top of everything else.
Everything else you got going on.
Day-to-day basis.
So you're living this lie. This person wakes up one day and realizes that they're in bed with someone that they don't know. How do you think that plays out?
I think that's fucking frightening.
It's very frightening, but that's exactly what it is. You wake up one day and you go, who the fuck is this?
Like at that point,
the relationship's done.
Well, their actions aren't matching up to their words. You know, you see
the trust.
You see slips, you see this, and you just don't know where to go with it because this person's been feeding you just what you want to hear instead of like actually nurturing and nourishing you.
It goes back to that trust thing, man. Like we talked about that with the tribal thing. If your tribe doesn't trust you, then you're going to be casted out. If the person you're dating doesn't trust you, that relationship's going to end. If your employer doesn't trust you, you're not going to have a job, or you're not going to move up in that job. And they're going to be looking for a replacement as soon as possible. And the best way to avoid that is to just be real. Then you don't have to live a lie. You don't have to play this exhausting character all the time. You can find someone that you actually want to be with that's a good match for you and have this relationship that you've always dreamed of. You can have this job that you've always wanted that's perfect for you, that gives you purpose and fulfillment. And all it takes is being authentic. But it's so hard for us to do because it's a natural human instinct to want to be liked by everybody. So you have to have self-awareness of it. Whenever you catch yourself, I still do it, of course. I've never been like terrible about like putting on a fake front, right? Like I've always had that in check, I think. But I still catch myself, of course. You get around someone, it's going cool. Like you meet a bro at the gym or some shit, like, oh, this dude's pretty cool. And I'll catch myself like maybe just in the back of my head, like during a conversation, I'm like, oh, maybe I should say this. Relating. I'm like, well, I don't give a fuck about that. Like I don't care about that. This person obviously does. I don't. So I'm not going to talk about it because I'm not going to give them the false impression that this is one of my hobbies or this is something that I'm passionate about, right? But you have to have self-awareness with that. You have to catch yourself almost and be like, no, we're not going to say that because that's not who we are. But let's move on to the next step of this. finding out who that person is. Because like I was just saying, I couldn't have that self-awareness to say, that's not who you are. Like, why would you say that? That won't even cross your mind if you don't know who you are, if you don't know your morals and values and what you enjoy and what you're not going to put up with. So how do we get to that point? How do we figure out who am I at the deepest level? It's time alone. It's time in meditation. It's time out in nature, just walking in silence. No music, no phone, just being with yourself. That's how you get to know yourself. It's not rocket science, guys. Like, people think that it is. Now, it's uncomfortable, and that's why people don't do it. But getting to know yourself just takes spending time with yourself with no distractions. But people are terrified of that. Why are they terrified of it?
It's uncomfortable.
Well, they're terrified of it because that means other people might not like them anymore. And it just comes full circle. You see, I'm going to be cast out of the tribe. My friend group won't like this, so I can't say this to them. I'm not going to like them. Well, if your friend group doesn't like this, and this is who you are, then it's not a good friend group for you, and you need to be okay with that. Now, are you going to have to spend some time alone, like, because you don't have anyone to hang out with? Yeah, but guess what? You're going to meet people, and eventually, there's going to be someone that you just hit it off with, and you guys become best friends, and they have friends.
And that relationship is genuine because you are genuine. And
right.
You come
and
into it genuine.
And just like whenever any relationship, every relationship should be one person helping another person and vice versa, right? Like, that is a point in relationships, is to help each other move up in order to help each other survive this life, right? So whenever you do that, that's what's beautiful about it. When you have just a solid friend group and everyone's helping each other out, well, that's because you guys are all on the same page. You guys all have the same morals and values and purpose, the same hobbies.
And live
similar lives.
Live your true, self.
So,
there's almost like no veil. There's no bullshit here.
I have a good example for this that's personal, and I'm glad that I just thought about this, because in the back of my head, I've been trying to figure out, like, okay, what's like a good story that I can tell? And I've never been someone, well, first off, I grew up in Panama City, Florida. It's nothing but nightclubs and bars there. Like, there's nothing else. I've always hated it. It's spring break capital of the world. I don't give a fuck about spring break. I never have. But I forced myself, and this is one of those situations in my life where I was fake and I was doing something that did not align with who I was. But, I was 18, 20, 25. I'm not beating myself up. I'm not beating myself up. But either way, I remember I forced myself one time to go to spring break. Like, I went out to the beach to experience this bullshit because some people invited me. I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. I didn't want to go do it. I knew that it wasn't my thing. But I still did it anyways. I remember going to these awful fucking nightclubs. I don't know if you've ever been to them, because we don't really have any around Charlotte. But, like nightclubs, there's hundreds and hundreds of people in there. They're all drunk. They're all on drugs. They're fucking grinding on each other and all of this shit. I've always hated it. It's always just been, like, even at a young age, I was like, this is just degeneracy and it's not my fucking thing. If it's your thing, that's cool. That's the thing, is like, I'm not going to hang out with you. Like, just to be real, if that's what you're into, that's cool for you. We're not going to get along, so I'm not going to pretend to do that. But there has been time in my life when I did. When I lived in Panama City, it was like, well, this is what everyone else does, so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go to these nightclubs. I remember always being so miserable. And even with bars and stuff, every once in a while, it is nice to go get a beer with some friends. Absolutely, right? But a lot of times, I just don't want to do it. I never have. It's not my thing. But I've always forced myself to do it. Or if someone invites you out to go do something, I would force myself to go do it. I'm like, well, this person invited me. That means I need to go do it. Because I was desperate. I was desperate for friendship. I was desperate for approval from other people, right? And then about 2 years ago, I got invited to something. And I remember sitting there and I was like, I really don't want to do this. And I said, and there's like this little voice popped up in my head. It's like, then don't fucking do it, dude. And I was like, yeah, it's actually as easy as that. So I shot the person a text back and I said, man, I really appreciate you thinking of me and inviting me. But honestly, I don't want to go do that. That's not my thing. Thank you though. If you want to go on a hike sometime, let me know. Yeah. You want to go do something else. You want to like get a lift in or something, like awesome. Like we need to catch up, go get lunch or something. But like, this is not my thing. And guess what? They were completely cool with it. They're like, because they're solid people. Me and this dude are still friends.
Yeah.
He's a solid person. And that's something too. It's like, okay, that dude's into that kind of stuff. No problem. Me and him are relatable in so many other ways. We're both entrepreneurs, right? So like we can hang out and talk about business all day and it's great. Amazing conversations. So you don't necessarily have to find people that you match with 100%. But at the same time, like you have to have some relatable aspects there. But you also don't need to force yourself to do shit that you don't want to do just to get approval from other people. And that's where I was getting at with that story. Once I stopped doing that, from that point forward, I haven't. Like that was the hard line there. That was the biggest realization, one of the biggest realizations in my life, but it was also a step towards like freedom, right? We come back to that word, being free as an individual and just being like, it's not as bad as I thought it was. And we always overplay this kind of shit in our head with everything. We always think it's going to be so much bad. That's where anxiety comes from. We sit there and we think, right? Oh, this might happen. This might happen. This might happen. Oh my God, what if? What if? All these what ifs. That word itself, what if? It's stupid. But but we sit there and we overthink. And that's where anxiety comes from because of our overstimulated brain. It's just always going, coming up with all these just usually ridiculous scenarios. But when you just stop that and you just go, no, like I just don't want to do that. Guess what? The anxiety disappears. There is no, I used to have really bad social anxiety, which is hard to believe because I have a podcast that millions of people fucking listen to, right?
The world.
Not a million. We have over 1 million plays, not millions of people. I don't want to over like pat myself on the back, but a lot of people,
goal,
right? The goal. But a lot of people listen to this podcast, right? And I put myself out there with videos and stuff like that for the company.
Which we're extremely thankful for.
But either way, it's cool to see now looking back because the only reason I said that was because I wanted to like emphasize how bad this social anxiety was and about how like over time I've been able to escape from it. But using this podcast is a perfect example actually. So I had really bad social anxiety and it was crippling at times. So I started just forcing myself to, in certain situations, like talking on video and on camera and stuff, right? It was terrifying to put myself out there, but it was more terrifying in my head than in real life. We're kind of going off topic, so I'm going to switch back here. But anyways, it's when I stopped giving a fuck. That's the only way this podcast can happen because we get, like, not everyone loves us, right? Like, we have videos and shit. We have reviews. Like, not everyone loves us. And it's being okay with that. That's terrifying to most people. And even to myself at one point in my life, that was terrifying to me. Oh my God, what if this person leaves a negative comment and they don't like it? But once again, I was just sitting there. I was like, and I felt this anxiety coming up and the little voice popped up. True self. That's what I've like established. That's the true self coming out. Who gives a fuck if they don't like you? You don't know this person. And even if you did know this person, who gives a shit if they don't like you? Because once again, it's not a good fit. We're not going to be friends. We're not going to be in any sort of relationship. Like, who gives a shit? Go listen to another podcast then. Like, it doesn't impact your life. None of this shit impacts our life as much as we do. But it goes back to our survival instinct. All of this is a survival instinct. Oh my God, what if this person doesn't like us? Well, we're not in that small tribe of 100 people where like we all have to hurdle together in order to survive. Like now it's just, you don't need it anymore. So if this person over here doesn't like you, fuck this person. But you can't do that until you are real with yourself and you're authentic and you know who you are. But the tactics to get there, spending time with yourself, by yourself, no distractions. Is it going to be uncomfortable? Fuck yes, it's going to be uncomfortable.
And you're going to come across some shit that really rattles you.
Yeah, because it's true. And you have to accept. You have to accept that, holy shit, this is how I've been living. Why?
Maybe this isn't who I think I am. Like what a crisis to be in.
Well, that's where existential crises come from, right? And I've never really experienced that. I've definitely done, I guess, soul searching. We'll call it that. Whatever the fuck that means. I just dropped like 15 F-bombs. Sorry for anyone listening to this in the car with their kid. But when I get going, it just goes. But
It's authentic.
yeah, it's authentic. Right, exactly. Well, there's another example, dude. So anyone that's been listening to this podcast for a long time, they're around, I'd say episode 30. I was like, I am cussing way too much. I don't mean to. I really I just, when I get going, when I get amped up because I'm passionate about what I talk about, those words come out. But also they're just words.
Yeah.
They're just words that other people and us as a society puts a meaning on, but they're just words. Anyways, I remember telling everybody on this podcast, I'm going to try to cut back on cussing, right? We're not going to, and I told you this. I told Joe this when Joe was still on the podcast. Now Joe's just the man behind the scenes. I was like, I'm going to stop. And it was so hard to do these podcasts, man. Like I couldn't flow because I wasn't being authentic to who I was. I was trying to create, even at a small degree, and this isn't necessarily bad because I was doing it with good intention in mind. And it was because I knew that people were listening to this with their kids in the car and stuff. But it wasn't being authentic. And as a result, I wasn't able to just have a conversation and put my thoughts and opinions out there and give people tactics that I've discovered throughout the years that might help them improve their lives. So trying to not be who I was to limit that person, because that's what I was doing. I was setting limitations on myself. I wasn't showing up how I needed to show up for this podcast. So I just gave 3 different examples from myself. And the only reason I give these is because I want you guys to realize no one is perfect. No one has it all figured out. This is all shit that people need to discover for themselves by getting to know who you are as an individual.
I think authenticity spills over into your daily life. And it eventually, I know for me at the beginning, I had to be very conscious of it. Is what I'm doing true to me? Is what I'm saying true to me? You're just very consciously aware because you're wanting to fix that. But when your authenticity becomes subconscious,
then life is effortless.
I have never just flowed through life so fucking easy before, man.
It's so beautiful.
And this is funny because here's where it really hit me. About 3-4 weeks ago, I was at the grocery store. So my kind of weekly routine, Sundays, Saturday night, Sundays, I fast. And then I go to the grocery store. I get all my shit done on Sunday, prep for the week, blah, blah, blah. 2 years ago, Cody would have had his headphones in, just pushing his cart through the grocery store, getting what he needs, and getting the fuck out. Dude, 4 weeks ago, I'm pushing my cart through the grocery store at 3 p.m. on a Sunday. So it's prime time. Dude, I was just pushing my cart, dancing around to the grocery store to whatever was playing on the speakers.
You were dancing
just
to the grocery
grabbing
store?
shit, putting it in my cart, just having a good fucking time.
Right.
And I laughed because that is me.
That's who you are.
That's me, and that's what I do and who I am. Because I'm talking packed house grocery store.
Yeah, you're just dancing
I don't
down
give
the aisles.
a fuck
Just
what
going.
anyone else in that place. I don't care, man.
So that's the thing too. So we're worried. The whole reason we create these fake personas and we're not authentic to ourselves is because we want other people to like us, right? Where here's the thing. Whenever you are real, you become much happier. Your energy, the energy that you're putting out there, people are going to gravitate towards because you're a fun person. You're a real person. You're a free person.
And that is something very refreshing in today's society.
It's refreshing,
man.
right? When you meet someone like that, man, I remember there's this gas station I go to. I love going to this gas station because the cashier, every time I walk in there, he's like, brother, how are you, man? I don't know this dude's name at all. I should learn it. But he's so full of energy and he works at the damn QT down the road. And I love going in there in the morning because of his energy. This dude's happy with who he is. That's the only way to be that. Whenever you're not being real with yourself, you're not happy. There's a part of you that knows that. And because of that, you are not a happy person. It goes back to one of the reasons for depression is because we know that we're capable of achieving more and we don't do it. So we start to wallow in self-pity, and then your energy levels start lowering and lowering and lowering, and then eventually you can't get out of bed anymore. And it all resulted from you knowing that you could have done more and you didn't put in the effort to do so, and you let yourself down, right? But that's how it works with this as well. You get full of life, and people gravitate towards life. You are embodying something that is so rare in this world nowadays because everyone is putting on a fake front to try to get everyone to love them. So that's the thing, no one's going to like you. They might tolerate you. They might like the idea. They like the idea of you. But you can only like an idea for so long until you have to actually face reality. There's an idea and then there's reality, right? We face that with every aspect of our life. But whenever you're just being real, you're dancing down the damn aisles of the grocery store, you're the cashier at the QT, just happy to be alive, people love that. And as a result, guess what? They're going to love you as well. They're going to love being around you because you're just a good person to be around. You make them feel good. Whenever you're around people that are super negative and just always complaining and they have all this drama and shit, they drain you of energy. And it's like, oh my God, like this is awful.
Their presence is exhausting.
Yeah, their presence is exhausting. But if your presence is just full of life and you're just happy to be here, you're loving existence. But you can't love existence until you're free of all of this other shit.
You can't love existence until you love yourself.
Yeah, that's the next episode.
That is the next
It's one of the next episodes. It was between this one and that one.
People, you want people to like you and love you. But until you do that to you and connect to you, you don't know what that looks like.
Yeah, and you're 100% right, man. It's this. My gears are turning, so I'm trying to figure it out right now. When you really just take that time to figure out who you are, and then so we need to dig into this. We're giving these tactics, right? Said you need to spend time alone. You need to learn to have compassion for yourself during this time period. This is extremely important, guys. And I wish we would have planned this one out a little bit more because it is such an important episode. We're just freeballing it right now. We had an idea. We're like, oh, that should be fun. So now we're talking and figuring it out along the way. But whenever you're spending this time alone by yourself and you start discovering aspects of maybe you haven't been being real, have compassion for yourself. That's where love comes from, is having compassion, right? It's loving yourself for all of your flaws, because we all have flaws. It's loving yourself for your strengths. It's loving everything about you, the good and the bad. You're going to discover some bad shit in there. And you need to just be, okay, well, that was there. I can change this. And that's the thing. You can change this. You cannot move forward if you just stay there beating yourself up, over-analyzing this aspect that you just discovered about yourself. This is exactly how it plays out with me, because I'm always discovering new things. I think we were having a conversation yesterday and I discovered something about myself. I'm like, I need to fix that, right? Because this is going to interfere with something I'm working towards. It comes in and I go, oh shit, I need to work on that. And then I immediately start figuring out how I need to work on it. I just immediately start taking steps. I don't sit there and be like, oh, you're a piece of shit. You shouldn't be thinking like that. But people talk to themselves like that, including myself, years and years ago. That's not even that long ago. 3 or 4 years ago, if that, right? But I start discovering these things. And I go, oh shit, I need to work on that. And I get stoked. That's just what kind of person I am now. Once again, that's that's Andy.
This perspective.
Right. That's part of this character.
Yeah.
He used to not be this way. There I am referring to that person again unintentionally.
I do it all the time.
But he used to not be this way. Andy used to not be like that, this character. But over time, it's okay, no, it's victim. Whenever you sit there and you beat yourself up over all this shit, you're just playing a fucking victim to yourself. What is that going to result in? Lowering your energy. You're not going to accomplish a damn thing. The less energy you have, the less you're going to get done. That's how it works on an internal and an external level, right? So you don't beat yourself up. You're not going to play the victim. You're going to acknowledge your flaw. You're going to accept it. You're going to have compassion for yourself for being a fucking human being. Because we all have problems. And then you're going to figure out what you're going to do moving forward. But you cannot beat yourself up. And I want to stress this so much because you're going to discover some bad shit in there. But you got to love yourself for it. Okay, cool. And here's the thing, like, you can't even beat yourself up about it because it could be a product of your upbringing. It could be just a trauma experience. You know, like something happened in your life that helped you develop this toxic trait that isn't serving you. It's not even your fault necessarily, to a certain extent. No, it becomes your fault when you don't start taking action to get rid of it, right? It's not your fault up to that point because you were unaware of it.
It's your self-responsibility to do that.
Yeah, but it's your responsibility to take this time to get to know yourself. That way you can become the best version of yourself. That way you can look inside and go, okay, these are my strengths. Cool, I'm crushing it. Awesome. I'm proud of myself. I love this about myself. Well, shit. There are a few things over here that I need to work on. Okay, well, we got some work to do. Cool, like look forward to that. We got some work to do. Awesome, because I know that once I get done doing this work on myself, I'm going to be a better person. Like I said earlier, it's chipping away. The more that you chip away at all of this bullshit, these insecurities, your anxiety, all these different aspects, once you chip away at them, your true self just naturally starts to come out more and more because you're working on yourself. And that's the motivation to work on yourself. Self-improvement in general, to become the real you, the whole purpose, our mission statement. We provide the tools to help you reach your true potential. That is why we have this podcast. That is why we make supplements. That is why we make knee sleeves and other fitness accessories. That's why we create clothing with powerful images on there to empower you throughout your life, to be the best version of yourself, to give you the tools to chip away at all these imperfections and these flaws, and to build yourself into the ideal version of who you want to be, that true person laying inside that wants to come out. And that's the thing, it wants to. That's why you get depressed when you're not moving forward. Because there's a part of you that's like, we are capable of so much. Every person on this planet is capable of achieving so much. And the only person holding us back is ourself. But there's that true self inside of you that goes, stop. Get your fucking shit together. We are capable of greatness. And we're holding ourselves back. You're fighting against yourself. You're adding resistance. What happens with resistance? Like, it's making life harder. So chip away at this shit. Look forward to it. Look forward to discovering these flaws about yourself. That way you can get rid of them and you can show up as that real you. And your whole life is going to get easier as a result. You're going to find that partner that makes you happy, that you can love. You're going to find a solid group of friends that you can rely on, that help pick you up when life gets hard. You're going to find that job that you've always wanted, working with amazing people. And that brings you purpose and fulfillment. But that does not happen until you take the time to get to know yourself and love yourself for the good and the bad. And when you discover that bad, fucking attack it. Full intensity. This becomes the priority. Fuck everything else, because this one thing is holding me back, and I just became aware of it. So all these other goals I have, okay, cool. We're still going to accomplish these goals. Those aren't going anywhere. That's the benefit of writing your goals down every day. It's always there. Okay, I still haven't done this yet. We're going to. But first, I need to get rid of this, because once I get rid of this problem with me that I have, this toxic trait that's holding me back, guess what? You're going to get to that goal 10 times quicker. But like you said, it's a responsibility. We all have a responsibility to fix our shit. That way we can show up as an authentic person and we can provide value to our community, our friends, our family. And that's why.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Norse Mentality. This podcast is a byproduct of Norse Fitness. We make clothing, fitness accessories, supplements, and other tools to help you reach your true potential. You can check it out at norsefitness.co. And if you found this episode beneficial, please share it with a friend. That way we can continue to make a bigger impact and change the world. Thank you for your support, and we'll talk to you soon.